Welcome back to the Bookkeeper. What if the very thing we spend our entire lives chasing, security, certainty, stability, and permanent happiness, is actually the main source of our deepest anxiety, restlessness, and suffering? In the Wisdom of Insecurity, Alan Watts delivers one of the most profound, liberating, and quietly revolutionary messages of the modern era. This is not a typical self-help book packed with techniques and checklists. It is a wise, calm, and often playful exploration of the human condition. Why we suffer so much, why we feel chronically insecure, and how embracing uncertainty might be the only real path to genuine peace and aliveness. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the future, trapped in endless overthinking, exhausted from trying to control everything, or simply tired of the constant search for enough, this summary is going to feel like a long, deep, relieving exhale for your mind and soul. Let's explore Alan Watts' timeless and deeply compassionate wisdom together. The Great Illusion: The Obsessive Search for Security. Alan Watts begins with a simple but devastating observation about modern human life. The more desperately we pursue security, the more insecure we become. We live in a culture that worships control. We want guaranteed jobs, guaranteed relationships, guaranteed health, guaranteed retirement, and guaranteed happiness. We plan, worry, save, accumulate possessions, build walls, and create systems, all in the desperate hope that one day we will finally feel safe and complete. But Watts points out the uncomfortable truth. Life is, by its very nature, insecure and impermanent. Everything is constantly changing. Your body is aging, moment by moment. Relationships evolve or dissolve. Economies rise and fall. People come and go. Nothing, absolutely nothing, stays the same forever. The relentless pursuit of absolute security is therefore a war against reality itself. And reality always wins in the end. This constant inner fight against change creates a low-level background anxiety that most people have learned to live with. We feel it as chronic stress, restlessness, overthinking, dissatisfaction, and a subtle but persistent sense that something is always missing or about to go wrong. The myth of the separate self. One of Watts's most profound insights is about the illusion of the separate self, the isolated me we think we are. From a very young age, we are taught to see ourselves as a lonely ego living inside a body, trying to survive and succeed in a vast, often indifferent or hostile universe. This sense of being a separate, vulnerable me against the world is the root of nearly all our psychological suffering. Watts explains that this separate self is largely a mental construct, a useful illusion for practical daily life, but ultimately false. In reality, you are not a separate entity inside the universe. You are the universe expressing itself as a human being for a brief, beautiful moment in time. You are not something in life. You are life. When this realization sinks in deeply, the desperate need to protect, defend, and constantly improve the small me begins to loosen its grip. A profound sense of relief, belonging, and spaciousness can emerge. Why we live in the future and suffer constantly. Why do we experience so much anxiety and dissatisfaction? Because we almost never truly live in the present moment. We are mentally living in the future most of the time, worrying about what might happen, planning for every possible disaster, or fantasizing about a better tomorrow. Or we are stuck in the past, regretting mistakes, replaying old conversations, and carrying emotional wounds that no longer exist except in memory. The present moment, the only moment that actually exists, is constantly being ignored or used merely as a bridge to some imagined future. Watts gently invites us to drop fully into the now, not as a productivity technique or a way to achieve something later, but as a way of being fully alive. When you truly inhabit the present moment, anxiety loses its fuel because anxiety can only exist in the future. He uses beautiful, living analogies. Life is like music. You don't listen to music just to reach the final note. You listen for the sake of the music itself as it unfolds. Life should be lived the same way, fully participating in the dance of the present moment. Faith versus belief. Watts makes a very important distinction between belief and faith. Belief is rigid and fearful. It is clinging to fixed ideas, dogmas, and certainties because you are terrified of uncertainty and the unknown. Faith, on the other hand, is open, alive, and courageous. It is a deep trust in the intelligence of life itself, the willingness to move forward without needing to control or know every detail in advance. True faith is not the belief that everything will go exactly the way you want. It is the trust to dance with life even when it doesn't. The Wisdom of Insecurity. This is the central paradox and the beating heart of the entire book. The wisdom of insecurity is the willingness to embrace uncertainty. When you finally stop demanding permanent security, absolute certainty, and unchanging happiness from life, something miraculous begins to happen. A deep, quiet, unshakable peace starts to emerge. Not because the world has become safe and predictable, but because you have stopped fighting its natural flow. You become like bamboo that bends gracefully in the storm instead of breaking. You become more spontaneous, more alive, more present, and strangely, more secure in the deepest possible sense. Watts reminds us again and again, insecurity is not the enemy. It is the very nature of life. Fighting it creates suffering. Embracing it brings freedom. Practical wisdom you can begin applying today. When anxiety or worry arises, gently bring your attention back to the present moment, to your breathing, the sensations in your body, or the sounds around you. Practice doing one activity at a time with full presence and attention. Notice when your mind is living in the future, and softly return it to now. Learn to sit comfortably with uncertainty instead of immediately rushing to resolve or control it. Remember the ancient phrase, "This too shall pass." It applies to both painful moments and beautiful ones. Alan Watts leaves us with a profoundly liberating invitation. Stop trying so hard to save yourself. Stop trying to make life perfectly safe, predictable, and under control. Relax. Trust the dance. Allow life to move through you. The wisdom of insecurity is the realization that you don't need to be in control to be fundamentally okay. If this summary brought you even a small sense of relief, spaciousness, or quiet awakening inside, please hit like right now. Subscribe to the Bookkeeper and turn on notifications so you never miss summaries that can genuinely transform how you experience being alive. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. In what area of your life are you ready to embrace a little more insecurity and trust the natural flow of life? Share it below. Let's support each other on this beautiful, uncertain journey. Thank you for watching. Remember, true security doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from learning to dance with it. I'll see you in the next video.